I deleted Microsoft Windows, and this is day 201. Here's a Linux update. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of fireside. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a tech day. It's a Linux day. It is not a Microsoft day. I broke free of Microsoft now 201 days ago. At that time, I created the Life After Microsoft Windows Cutting the Cord series. And this video is basically an update. A lot of you guys on the live said, listen, we want an update. We want to know a couple of things. We want to know what you're currently using, what is in your setup, what does your hardware look like, what kind of software, what are you doing, and which OSs have you tested so far? And I'm going to get into that today. I'm going to tell you which distributions I've tried, which ones I like, which ones I don't, the reason why. And of course, I'll give you my hardware lists and everything else. So if you want to build something similar to what I have, you can do so. And it'll work because it's been working for 201 days. And there it is, guys. Microsoft Windows has not come out of this pack, the nice and dusty, the way I like it, has not come out of this pack in 201 days. I know you guys keep telling me to take it out, install it, and do an update before it does its end of life deal. I might do that before the end of the year. I think Microsoft Windows end of life is, or for Windows 10, I believe it's like in August or something of this year. And then that's it. No more updates, no more security patches, no more nothing. You're pretty much done. You have to move to Windows 11. And then deal with your recall and your Copilot Plus and all the rest of the telemetry and all the rest of the nastiness where it's constantly gathering your data and selling it. That's a problem. That's why a lot of people end up moving to Linux, because of security issues. And for me, there was a lot of different reasons. Number one, security, but number two, it just was not stable. I do a lot of video editing. I do the editing in DaVinci Resolve, in the pro version, let's say, the studio version that you purchase, and I need it to work. And I can't have like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it crashes or it slows down to like 5 frames per second. Crazy stuff I was getting on Windows. I don't get any of that on Linux. So once again, today I'm going to go through all of this. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, throw the video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share. Sharing is the most important thing, of course. Share with your friends, family, colleagues, Reddit, wherever, Facebook. Also, click this notification button here so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. And just want to say thank you for all of my hard work. There's a little thank you button right down here. You can give $1 or $2 if you like. If not, it's perfectly fine. The video's still free. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be even better. And if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks, check them out over at JCristina.com/books, JCristina.com/books. And if you want more content like this, breaking free of Microsoft Windows, that Life After Microsoft Windows Cutting the Cord series, I put together a playlist. It'll be right here. Don't click on it yet. It'll be here. Come back after you're done watching this video and then click that. You'll be able to see a whole bunch of videos specifically about this. So let's get into day 201. I put together some notes here so I can give you all of the information that you're looking for. Number one, why are people moving? Once again, for me, it was security, but even more importantly, it was just for something that just worked. It just allowed me to just work and just simply got out of the way. That's what I was looking for. There was just too many crashes with Windows at the time. Now, a lot of people were really worried when Copilot Plus was coming out, as well as Recall. If you don't know, Copilot Plus is one of these things. It's like an AI-driven thing for Windows that allows you to do a lot of things, but in so doing, it kind of keeps a lot of information that you really don't want out there. And if the system gets hacked, there's a ton of telemetry, a ton of information, and in my personal opinion, it's just simply an invasion of privacy. Recall, for example, took a picture of your screen every 2 seconds or every 3 seconds, and then boiled all that information down and then sent it off to Microsoft. Now, what are they doing with your screen's photo every single second or every 2 seconds? I don't know, but just imagine the data that they get. They get passwords, everything you do, every website you go to, what you're working on, any kind of images that you're looking at, whatever you're doing, they know. They have a full picture, literally, of your entire system and what you do with it. Absolutely disgusting, in my personal opinion. And a lot of you guys said, listen, that's where I'm breaking free. Once they started this, Microsoft, matter of fact, had to walk that back because originally recall was turned on by default. Now recall is turned off, but they encourage you to turn it on. Right? You know how Microsoft does that. We encourage you to use this browser and not that. Google, bad. Edge, good. You know, it's that type of thing, right? And they do that. Anyways, the other thing is the vulnerabilities. When it's taking all of this information and gathering it, and even if it's storing it on your local machine and not sending it off, which it is anyways, but even if it's storing that in your local machine, if you have a hack of some kind, all of that data is going to go out. So that is a major, major problem. Matter of fact, the U.S. House of Representatives actually banned Copilot Plus. You cannot use it. So if you are a representative, you have to have a different operating system. You got to use Mac, or you have to somehow uninstall Copilot from your PC, from your Windows-based PC. That's it. Why? Because of security concerns. Pretty simple, right? Very simple, in my personal opinion. Anyways, that's the reasons why a lot of people are moving to Linux in comparison to using Windows. A lot of people also have moved to Apple. Now, Apple's a good choice too. They're a lot more secure than Windows is, 110%. Matter of fact, the back end of Mac OS is, I shouldn't say Linux because people will call me out on it. Let's just say Unix, BSD, BSDI from way back. That is the core of it. But they just put a very nice skin over it. And it works out great. So you don't even know that you're using like a Unix or Linux-based type of operating system behind the scenes. Why? Because of the GUI, or that graphical user interface, is so nice. It allows you to just do your work. And that's it. Makes it, let's say, foolproof or stupid-proof. Anyways, people asked about the hardware, and I put together a list of all the hardware that I'm currently using. And what I'll probably do is down below, I will put a list and links to it. So if there's something that you want to pick up, you can do so. So to start out with, the motherboard is an Asus motherboard. It's the Prime X370 Pro, which is kind of nice. I like it. I like the Asus brand. My personal opinion, they do a really good job when it comes to updating drivers. So it's important to me because I want to make sure that it's going to not only be good when I first buy it, but then good in 4 years from now because they're doing firmware updates and whatnot like they should be. Also, I'm using an AMD Ryzen 9. It's the 5950X. It's a 16 core, pretty badass. It does a really good job. It was a big upgrade from my old system, and it has 32 gigs of memory. Now, I can add 64, 128. I'm using 32 because I don't need any more. I do all of my video editing with the 32, and I don't have any bogging or any memory issues. I watch it all the time, and I have a good maybe 5 to 10 gigabytes of headroom, and that's just how I edit. Now, if you're doing some type of multi-camera edit with a ton of timelines, you might need more gigabytes. So 64, 128 is a good number. I'm using 32 and it's working. Now, as far as my GPU, I'm using an NVIDIA. The NVIDIA is a GeForce RTX 4060 Ti. The 40 series are awesome. I absolutely love them. I tried the 4070, I like the NVIDIA product. It just works really good with Linux, all right? It is not, let's say, default. It doesn't have like drivers built in, but the proprietary drivers that it does have really work great. So that's what I've been using. I tried some other cards and it just didn't work. I hosed the system trying another card, but I'll get into that in just a second. Also, I'm using a Scarlett 2x2. That's for my audio. That brings in all of my audio that we're currently using, all of my analog audio and then converting it to digital so I can pump it into Linux. It works perfectly, and the drivers work also. I'm using a Logitech mouse, a wireless gaming mouse, which is nice, and then I'm using some Elgato products. I'm using 2 Stream Decks. Now, one thing with Elgato is Elgato doesn't like Linux. I say that kind of in jest. Well, they don't write drivers for Elgato, and it's kind of a problem, but not at the same time. The Linux community is really big and they're very smart, okay? And when there's a driver that they really need and the manufacturer doesn't want to write it, they write it themselves. So my Elgato Stream Decks that I'm currently using, once again, I got 2 in front of me, they are running perfectly in Linux, even though there's no drivers for it, because I use someone's driver that they just simply wrote it, and it works absolutely flawlessly. So that was a big thing for me. Also, I'm using a Dell 34-inch over here, which I love as my main monitors. I could put 2 screens basically in one. And then on this side, I have a gaming monitor, which is a 27-inch, extremely fast. And I have 2 of them running. So I like having the multi-monitor. Now, when it comes to the OS, I'm going to tell you which OS I'm currently using because I've used a lot. But before I do, I want to tell you what I've used, what I've tested. Now, if you want to go back to some of those videos, you can see me test the different distributions and what they're like and whatnot. But here I'm just going to simply tell you about them. So number 1 was Fedora 40. I love Fedora. I love Red Hat before they went to that whole enterprise thing and went commercial with it. But upstream to Fedora is Red Hat. And I do like it. It is very, very secure. It is steadfast. It is a really good platform to build on. Fedora 40 is basically something that is, let's say, the beta test version of Red Hat. So all of the cool stuff that comes out daily gets pushed into Fedora for testing. So if you use Fedora 40, you got to know that it's not going to be as hard as a Red Hat distribution, but it is very close to it and it does a lot. I absolutely love it. It's probably my favorite OS, but there was a couple of things that I didn't like about it. And number 1 was I had a problem with one of my printers, a thermal printer, and that was just, it was a no-go. I needed it to print labels. So when I send you some of my products, you know, there's a ton of them that I make, go to JCristina.com. You'll see a lot of products that I have invented over the years. Anyways, I have to send out a lot of packages. And if my thermal printer's not working, I'm dead in the water. And I'll get into that in just a second. It's very important. If you want to move to Linux, there's things that you have to do before you do move. And once again, I'll get into that. I also wanted to install Serif's Affinity, the designer, the photo, the publisher, because I love them. Okay, really good stuff. I was not able to install them. And it's a problem, and it's still a problem today, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. The next thing was Nabara 40. Now, Nabara is also a Fedora-like, let's say, platform, very similar to a Red Hat. So it would go, let's say, Nabara, then it would go to Fedora, and then it would go into Red Hat. That's kind of like the order, let's call it. But Nabara is more gaming and content creation oriented, okay? And it does a good job of it. I really did like it, but I was not, once again, able to install any of the Affinity products. That was a problem. Also had a problem with the printers where not all of the printers were working. The thermal printer would not work, and that was a no-go for me. Now, there was some other things that I didn't like about it, but all in all, it was a good OS. I really think that anyone that is looking to get involved with Red Hat or Fedora, looking at Nabara 40 is a good way to go. Now, I also installed Cashy OS. Now, Cashy OS, instead of being built on Red Hat, is built on Arch. Arch Linux, God, you either love it or you hate it, okay? For me, it's like the hate, loathe. That's just me. Other people out there are going to be like, what are you talking about, Joe? Arch is the best. It's just, I have a problem with it because it doesn't hold your hand. Okay, now, can I use it and then go and code at it and actually get things to work? Yes, I can. But I can't recommend it to you guys that are new to Linux. It would be stupid of me because then you would just have a horrible time with Linux, and you shouldn't. It should be something that you just use, and it just gets out of the way and you work or you play, whatever you want to do. And CachyOS wasn't like that. You really had to hand hold it. I tested gaming on it. They said it was like the best gaming thing. It was about 5 to 10 frames per second faster than my Windows. So it was better gaming, but not by much. Okay, it was better. Also, Bluetooth didn't work out of the box. No printers worked out of the box. Nothing worked out of the box. You would have to go and do it all yourself to get things to work. Now, that is not going to be for the majority of you. That's CachyOS. I didn't care for it. I hated it. Maybe I'll revisit it down the road, but maybe not. Then I tried MX Linux. Now, MX Linux is pretty cool because it's extremely lightweight. I did like it. I had printer issues also, and the original, my main printer didn't work either very well, and it was I didn't like it. It was lightweight though, and it was quick, but I just didn't care for it. After that, I tried Pop OS. Now, Pop OS is just, everyone talks about Pop OS as being like the next best thing to slice bread. And honestly, guys, I found Pop OS to be a hodgepodge of distributions all put together, scotch taped together to try to work. And it's very similar to what Windows does. You know, Windows has, let's say, a team of 10,000 people writing code, and then a small team of like 10 guys, right? Red eyes that are trying to tape all of this code together and make sure that one thing doesn't break the other thing and this thing doesn't break that. And there's constantly things breaking, and that's their job, is to stop it from breaking from all of this code that's coming in. And that's what I feel that this Pop OS is about. There's too many different things going on. It doesn't feel like there's continuity to it. Now, is it a good OS? Yes, I think it looks beautiful. I just don't care for it for those reasons. The next thing I tried was Zorin OS. A lot of you guys said, listen, try out Zorin. Zorin's pretty cool. I like Zorin. And my God, guys, Zorin OS to me feels like Windows 95, Windows 98, something like that. Very minimalistic, just Windows-like, and I'm trying to get away from Windows as far as I can. I don't want to see Billy the Kid, Bill Gates over there ever again. I don't want to see his face. I don't want to see the OS that he created or stole. I'm just not into it. I just want to have nothing to do with it. So Zorin wasn't for me. I tried Pika OS, like Pikachu. I tried Pika OS, and while it was aesthetically whimsical, kind of fun, I had problems with the printer and I just didn't like it. It just didn't feel like professional. It wasn't for me. Finally, I tested out Linux Mint, and that's where I'm currently at right now. Linux Mint is an Ubuntu base, and it is fantastic. I installed all of my printers, including the thermal printer and everything, literally within minutes. Everything just simply worked. I didn't have to try to get it to work. And I think that's what a lot of you guys are looking for. And that's why even back then, let's say day 80 or so, when I did an update, I said Linux Mint was really good for me, and I'm going to keep testing it for a while. And now we're on 201 days, guys, with Linux, and Linux Mint is it. I might test out a few more OSs because there are some changes that I've seen and I want to check them out. I always like to test different distributions because there might be something that I like better, that works better, that's smoother, whatever. But as of right now, I still would have to recommend Linux Mint. It just simply works. Now, there were some pitfalls that I let you guys know about, and I put out some PSAs where I lost everything because of my stupidity, and I'll get into those in just a second. But if you're looking to try out Linux and you're currently on Windows, there is something that I think that you have to do. It's an absolute have to do. And that is to make a list of must-haves and a list of likes or wants, let's say. The must-haves are all the things that have to work. That means any hardware that is absolutely imperative that it works. Also, software. Which software do you use on a daily basis that has to work on Linux? You have to look this up. Make this list. So for me, I had a list that looked like this. NVIDIA GPU, my mouse, it needed to be compatible. My printers need to work. That was a big one. Multi-monitor setup has to work. My Scarlett, that audio interface has to work. My Stream Decks have to work. My Canon EOS R that I'm currently recording with needs to work with this. Also, OBS needs to work. That software package I use all the time, that has to work. Elgato stuff has to work, but we found a fix to it because they weren't working at first, remember? Because there weren't any drivers. But that has to work. And then as far as the software, I need a photo editor, a video editor, an Illustrator. I need to be able to make my books because I do write books and then eventually have them printed. And of course, video. Video is number one. So I used DaVinci Resolve for many years, and DaVinci Resolve had to work. Now, that was my must-have list. Now, my wants to have, number one, would be Steam. I want to make sure that Steam works on Linux because there are games on there that I'd like to test out and run on Linux. I found out that there was over 12 or 13,000 games that actually work on Linux now, thanks to Steam. So gaming isn't a problem. The other thing was Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, and Affinity Publisher. I really wanted those to work. Now, as of today, I have not got them to work. I shouldn't say that. With Fedora 40, I tried, and I made this amalgam of an operating system, basically. I did so many patches and all kinds of stuff, and I got them to work. But they ran just lethargic. I can't edit photo or illustrations with like 20 frames per second. I just can't do it. It was just horrible, a horrible experience. So I'm using alternatives now on Linux for those. But those were my musts and my wants. You need to make your list, all right? Because then once you have that list, you can see if that distribution will allow you to use those. Or when you install the distribution, you can test all those right away. And if they don't work, delete it and install another one. That is the beauty, because you can literally buy one of these NVMEs for cheap, really, really cheap, and install an OS on this and then delete it and then install another one and delete it and so on and so forth and just keep on sticking it in. So it works out really nice. Now, the other thing that you can do instead is you can get something like this, like a little stick. Install the OS on this, stick it in your computer, boot off this, and now test it out. See if it works, or see if you like it. Now, there's always a stumbling point. There's always a problem. Right around day 77, day 80, right around there, I lost everything, okay? I screwed up. It was my fault. I was installing something. I just trashed it, and you know what? I had to reinstall. So I reinstalled Mint at that time. It was let's call it day 80. I reinstalled it, and then I installed all of the software that I needed to. It took about 2 hours, maybe 3 the most, to get everything back to the way it was. And at that time, I told you guys, I said, you know, I don't want this to ever happen again. I like Mac. I do like their time machine, where it's constantly making these snapshots of your OS, and at any time you can say, I want to go into Time Machine and go back an hour, or back a day, or back a week, or whatever, where there was no problem. Well, Mint has something called Time Shift built into it. I learned about it, and sure damn enough, I installed it, and that's exactly what it does. It takes snapshots of your OS like Time Machine does. It takes those snapshots and you set it up to take snapshots every hour or every other hour, every day or every week or every month, however you want to do it. You can set it up, whatever makes you feel more secure. For me, I do a snapshot every day, and I store 7 days of snapshots. You can store as many as you want. They don't take too much room, and for me, 7 is enough. Because now I can go back up to 7 days, and if I don't figure out that there's a problem within 7 days, it's probably not a problem. So day 77 was definitely a wake up for me. Now, right around day 120, 140, somewhere around there, I lost everything again. This time what I did was I installed a new piece of hardware. I installed a new GPU. It wasn't an NVIDIA GPU, and the drivers just clashed. And I tried to install a driver on top of another driver before uninstalling the original driver because I wasn't thinking, and I just hosed the entire thing. So I said, oh God, now I'm going to take 2-3 hours to reinstall everything, man. And then I remembered, I set up time shift, right? And sure damn enough, I did. And I went back, I said, you know what? I'm going to boot off a little boot stick like this. I stuck it in, boot mint. Then I went into the command line and I did a sudo time shift list. And it gave me a list of all of the backups that I've done and what the time frame was. Now I knew exactly when I hosed the system, so I just went back one day. So I went and said sudo time shift restore, and I typed in the name. 10 minutes later, it says, yeah, you can reboot now. I reboot, and everything was perfect. No problem. So these are the type of things that you just learn over time. So if you're going to be doing this and you actually enjoy using Mint or any of the Linux operating systems, I would say either install time shift because it's not there, or like with Mint, it's already there, just use it, right? Because it will back things up just like Time Machine does with Apple, and does a fantastic job of it. Now, time shift only does the OS. Well, you could do files, but it's not really there to do that. There is other backups that you can use that do everything. Time Machine does kind of everything, where Time Shift is specifically for the OS. All right, so bear that in mind. Anyways, guys, this is my day 201 update. What I want you to do is two things. Number one, down below, let me know what you want to see with this series, right? Do you want more distributions that you want me to check out? If there are some, put them down there. Tell me why, all right? Understand what I just told you, and then tell me why you think I should check them out. If you tell me to check out something that's based on Arch, I might not check it out. I might, but I'm not going to install it. I'll probably just put it on a stick and test it out because I just had a very bad experience with it, all right? But I still might test it. So definitely put that down there. If there's any gaming that you want me to do, tell me about that. If there's any software that you want me to test out, tell me about that. If there's any alternatives to specific Windows applications that you're currently using that you might want me to tell you about, let me know about that too. Also, I was thinking about taking my PC and sticking it back here, right around there, and running cables and everything over to here. It'd be a big process to do. Do you think that that would look good back there or not? I see a lot of channels that do that. I don't know. It might mess things up. It might make it better. I don't know. Let me know what you think. All right. Remember, the channel is about video, tech, and photo. So let me know what you think. Down below, I want to hear from you. Anyways, if you're shy and you don't want to write anything down there, put an emoji so at least I know that you got to the end of this video. I would really appreciate that. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, give it a thumbs down. That's okay too. The algorithm likes that also. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you, and my merch and my shirts and my tees and my books and everything else. Check them out. Once again, JCristina.com. If there's something there you like, pick it up. Help support me and my family. I would appreciate that. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected, and stay Windows free. We'll see you in the next one. Love you all.